Om Jnantimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome back to this Bhagavad Gita study group. Thank you all for joining. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Wonderful. Let's do a quick recap. In the first chapter, we saw that Arjuna is very sad. Why? Because he was trying to find out who his enemies are. Unfortunately, that entire enemy that he originally went out to see was full of people that he loved. And seeing them, he says, I don't want to fight this war. And he puts his weapons down. In the second chapter, Krishna is trying to inspire Arjuna to fight. Arjuna is struggling. Should I dutifully fight and shoot arrows at Bhishma Pitama, at Acharya Drona? No, right? Should I be slaughtering my brothers? Absolutely not. Arjuna is completely confused. And in this moment of confusion, Arjuna turns to his closest friend, his wisest mentor, the only one in the entire world that he completely trusted. And he said, Bhai, only you can suljhao this problem. Right? I have no answers, Krishna. I just don't know what to do. You have never let me down before. And so I'm quite certain that you're not going to let me down even now. But now when I'm asking you, I'm not asking you as a friend. I am now surrendering unto you, Krishna. I'm accepting you as my Guru. Krishna smiles, right? This is the moment that Krishna chooses to actually explain the concept of Deha and Atma to Arjuna. So he says, Arjuna, this Deha, this body, is just a temporary home for the soul, right? Just as we change our clothes, the soul changes bodies. It gets rid of the old body, takes on a new body, right? The soul itself cannot be destroyed. So really, when you go out there and fight, you are doing no real harm to your loved ones. Just go and fight. Because by occupation, Arjuna, you are a warrior. It is your duty as a Kshatriya to go fight for the protection of Dharma. So Krishna says, look Arjuna, running away to the mountains and meditating is not an option for you. If you do that, if you turn your back on this fight, then you will be committing sin. Right? So verse after verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna, do your duty. And then he tells Arjuna how to do his duty without attachment to the fruits of his actions. Right? If one gives up all selfish motives and works merely for the sake of duty, such work will not create any karmic reactions. Right? So this work is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. No kamanai. Nishkama Karma Yoga. So Krishna advises Arjuna to become completely detached from the results and simply focus on doing his duty. He says, with single-minded determination, do your duty. Don't worry about success and failure. A person who does his duty with no expectations is the happiest person. And people like this are called Sthita Prajna. Sitting in Prajna, in wisdom. Right? These are the wisest of all men and they are always happy. So Arjuna says, wow, this sounds very good, Krishna. I need more details to understand this Sthita Prajna. right? I want to kind of, understand how a person can be so happy. So Krishna, tell me more about this Sthita Prajna. How does he talk? How does he walk? How will I recognize him? Okay, so Krishna's answers are very profound. He says the first quality of a Sthita Prajna is that he becomes desireless. He does not have any material desires. Why? Because he is fully happy inside. He is completely satisfied. He realizes that he is Satchit Ananda. He's got the greatest pleasure inside of him. And because he is able to find happiness inside, he is not looking for it outside. Right? And this guy, this Sthita Prajna guy, he's very calm in all situations. Good situation aaya, thank you God. Distressful situation aaya, thank you God for the strength for me to handle this. Right? And how is this possible? Because he's given up three things. Vita, he's given up Raga, Bhaya and Krodha. Right? Raga is attachment. Bhaya, he has no fear. And Krodha, he is able to control his anger. Because of spiritual advancement, he has realized that this material world in which he has taken birth, this material world is a constant source of anxiety, constant source of misery. And so he's found a solution. Right? What has he done? He's decided to become like a tortoise. Right? When he's in good, comfortable situations, he engages his senses. But otherwise, when there are too many distractions, when he gets scared, you know what, I'm going to get swayed over here. What does he do? He withdraws all his senses into his shell. He just shuts off. I don't want to see evil. I don't want to hear evil. I don't want to touch evil. Nothing. Right? So he protects himself from all kind of degrading situations. Right? And how is he able to do that? Because he has found a higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. Okay? So the way to detach is to find superior attachment. And the most superior form of attachment, the most superior form of love is devotion. So if we get into devotion, if we get into bhakti, we will be able to give up our lower tastes. And so the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us to redirect our desires towards God. And when we do that, automatically our entanglement in this material world will become lesser and lesser. Okay? So that is what we did last week. So today we'll continue. And listen carefully because we're going to start with a warning verse. After everything that Krishna has spoken about the Sthita Prajna, he gives us a little warning. Okay? We're doing verse 20. Please repeat after me. Yatato hyapi kaunteya. Yatato hyapi kaunteya. Purushasya vipaschitaha. Is for us to not give in to our desires. Okay? So Bhagavatam tells us a story of a very, very great sage, Saubhari Muni. Okay, Saubhari Muni was so advanced that he would submerge himself in the Yamuna. You know, the Bahar ki dunya has so many distractions. I don't want to look anywhere. So I will go under the water and I will meditate over there. Okay? So thousands of years he was sitting down in meditation. But one day, underwater, he saw two fish mating. He saw two fish mating. And his mind and senses got carried away. The desire for sex arose. Right? He said, oh my God, I'm missing out on something. And so he comes out of water and he thinks, okay, how do I fulfill this desire of mine? I'm such a great, accomplished Muni. So obviously I need the finest enjoyment. So he goes to the king of Ayodhya at that point, Mandhata, a very illustrious, a very noble ruler. He had 50 daughters. So our Saubhari Muni goes to the king and he says, you know what, I'm the greatest Rishi. And now because I want to get married, I want to marry one of your daughters. Now this Mandhata is shocked. He says, this old man, he wants to get married, right? But he also got scared because this is a very powerful sage. If I say no to him, he's going to turn around and curse all of us, right? So now what do I do? He was in a dilemma. So he immediately says, oh Munivar, I have no objection to your request, right? You please sit down. What I will do is I will call my 50 daughters. And whoever chooses to marry you, she will be yours. Right? Because the king knows that none of the daughters are going to agree to marry this old man. So he says if they only say no, then the sadhu is not going to be able to do anything. But this sadhu is very, very clever. He immediately understands the problem kya hai. So he says, okay Raja, I will come back tomorrow. Tomorrow when I come back, you get all your 50 daughters ready. Let them come, look at me, and whoever says yes, I'm going to marry her. He goes back and he uses all his yogic powers and transforms himself into a handsome young man. Now remember, why was he sitting in yoga? To attain spirituality, to attain God. Right? But that is why they say that jnani, being that, you're doing it all alone. It's so dry. Right? You're sitting on speculation. You're sitting on just reading the scriptures with no association, with no rasa. That you tend to fall to these small things. Right? And therefore uses all his yogic powers and becomes this handsome young man and goes to the palace the next day. Every girl is amazed looking at him. And so every daughter says, I want to marry this guy. Now the king doesn't know what to do, but he had promised. And so all 50 girls marry Saubhari Rishi. Right? He again uses all his tapasya and he creates 50 palaces. He creates 50 forms and he lives with each of them for thousands of years. Thousands of years he's enjoying with them. He has several children, grandchildren, a city gets created. And one day he comes to his senses. One day something hits him and he says, oh my God. Right? So this is a very popular line which he says, Aho imam pashyatame vinashyam. So it's a line where he's telling everybody, oh my God, look at my fall down and make sure you don't repeat the mistake that I have done. I spent thousands of years practicing austerity. I went and submerged myself under water. I practiced all rules and regulations. And yet, by just looking at fish meeting, I gave in to my sexual desire. Right? All of you, please listen to my story and prevent yourself from this kind of fall down. Right? So he says, oh humans, we all make plans to attain happiness all our life. But look at my degradation. Where was I and where am I today? Right? I created 50 bodies, lived with 50 women for thousands of years. And yet, my senses did not experience fulfillment. I kept hankering for more and more and more. And so learn from my downfall and be warned. Don't give in to your sense desires. Okay, so this verse that we did, verse number 60, is a warning verse. If we keep trying on our own accord, we are bound to fall down. And therefore, Krishna gives us a solution. Again, he's repeating. Verse number 61, please. Please repeat after me. I'd like a few of you to please unmute and say the verse after me. Okay? It's a good way to practice reading these verses. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya pradnya pratishtita. So, Lakshmi, please read the translation.
One who restrains his senses keeping them under full control and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady.
Okay, now please understand this line by line. Tani sarvani sayamya. So, keep all your senses restrained. Okay, all your senses, try and restrain them. But how? Underline that. Yukta asita matparaha. Matparaha. Take my shelter. Control your senses in relation to me. Right? Don't say I will not look at something beautiful. But whatever you see it in relation to me. Aishwarya Rai is so beautiful. God has been so merciful on her. Right? This food is so delicious. God has blessed the cook. So whatever you see, you continue to appreciate it, but always matparaha. Understand it in relationship to me. When you read a good book, this author is so blessed. What kind of wisdom God has given him. Right? You watch a movie. The actor is amazing. What kind of talent God has invested in him. Right? So, Yukta Asita, be attached to everything but in relationship to me. Right? Engage all your senses but always be Krishna conscious. And if you do that, Vashehi yasyendriyani. You will be able to keep all your indriyas in your vash. You will be able to control all your senses. Tasya prajna pratisthita. That is the best form of intelligence. Okay? So essentially in this verse, Krishna is telling us that yes, the mind and the senses are very, very hard to control. But there is one simple solution. And that is connect them to me. Right? This rash mind of ours which keeps running idhar udhar, it needs to be tamed. How? By engaging them properly. And the best engagement is matparaha. Connect them to me. Take my shelter. In everything that you do, learn to see my presence. And that is where the Bhagavatam tells us very broadly what Ambrish Maharaj did. Ambrish Maharaj is supposed to be one of the greatest devotees. Right? Remember, he was a ruler, which means he constantly engaged in this material world. He constantly engaged with all his praja. Right? He was always involved in all kinds of material activities. But what did he do? His mind was always fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? He used his words to recite verses, to describe Lord's abode, to recite the Brahma Samhita. Right? He used his hands in the morning to wake up and clean the temple of the Lord. He used his ears to regularly listen to Bhagavad and Bhagavad Gita or whatever scriptural books were available at that time. He used his body to associate with devotees. Right? He used his nostrils to smell flowers and tulsi which were offered to God. He used his tongue to taste prasad. Right? He used his legs, his body to go on pilgrimage regularly. He used his head to offer obeisances to God every morning. Right? So in this way, while he used his senses to do everything else in the world, he also was very, very good with his sadhana. Right? Every day we need to put aside a fixed amount of time to do our own sadhana, to engage all our senses in the service of the Lord. And with that, we will become matpara, devotee of the Lord. We will become devotees who are able to see everything in association with Krishna. Okay? And so first Krishna says, be very careful. Senses will run in every direction without you even realizing there could be a fall down. So he says, how do you control your senses? By keeping them always connected to me. And then Krishna gives us these two twin verses. Verse number 62 and 63 is also used in a lot of psychological studies, because these two verses describe the functioning of the mind. It tells us how our mind leads to our fall down. if we given to what our mind desires, how quickly we fall down. Okay, so these two verses are very, very beautiful, used in all kinds of studies, okay, actual academic study. So if we understand these two verses, we will be able to evaluate different situations in life and realize how our mind took us to a great fall down. Okay, so please pay attention. I would like you to learn these two verses by heart. Okay, so let's do these. We'll first recite the two verses together and then we'll take it little by little. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangaste shupajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti bhraushat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. Okay, now I'm going to do these little by little. Okay, let's start with the first line. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. Pumsaha is a person. If his dhyan goes on a particular vishay, on a particular object, okay, now you think of a particular object on which your mind went and rested, your dhyan went. You were, driving around and you saw a beautiful ad at Carrot Lane. Or you were driving Inox Aya and you saw this ad for a movie that you felt you wanted to watch. Or you were in the mall and you saw this beautiful dress jis pe tumhara dhyan gaya. Okay? Try and think of something. Or you saw a beautiful car that your friend got as a gift. Right? Tumhara dhyan udhar gaya. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. You are a pumsa and tumhara dhyan kisi vishay pe gaya. Okay? Because of that dhyan, you started thinking about it, and because you put your dhyan there, what happened? Sangastesh upajayate. You developed attachment for it. I saw the car that my friend got and I felt, wow. I saw that beautiful piece of jewelry and I felt, wow, this is nice. That dress is nice. That movie is something I want to watch. Right? So, dhyan pehle gaya. Because of dhyan, you developed attachment to it. Right? You felt, wow, this looks really nice. Because of that attachment, what happened? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. That attachment led to lust. First you saw it, then you thought, wow, now you felt, oh, I want it. Lust. Right? Your dhyan has now gone to, I want it. I want the same car. I want to watch that movie. I want that piece of jewelry. I want that beautiful sari. Right? So, first, dhyan. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. Next, sanga. You develop attachment for it. Right? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Third thing is kama. And kamat krodho bhijayate. Because of kam, I was led to krodh. Why? Because I try and fulfill my desire. Right? I've got a desire. I want to watch the movie. Two options. I go watch the movie. When I'm sitting there watching it, I see a trailer for the next one. And I went and watched that rubbish Tiger 3. And when I was sitting there, I immediately wanted to watch Sean Bahadur. Right? So, immediately one desire leads to the next desire. I went in to buy this piece of jewelry. I bought it. Immediately, I saw the next bracelet that I want. Right? I saw this beautiful car. I test drove it. Maybe I want a higher version. Correct? And if at one point I will reach where that desire of mine is not going to be fulfilled. And as soon as desire is not fulfilled, it leads to krodha. Fulfilled desire leads to greed. Right? Unfulfilled desire leads to anger. Correct? So desire ka do hi option hai. Lust ka. I want something. The minute I get it, I want something more. And when I don't get it, I go towards krodha, anger. Right? So are we clear with the first verse? Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. Right? So anger, greed, lust, these are all called manas rog, disease of the mind. We're easily able to treat bodily ailments, but we are not even aware of our manas rog. Right? We don't realize about all these diseases that we are carrying with us. We're constantly, all of us without exception, are being tormented by these mental ailments. Right? And because we are not very aware, we're constantly giving in, we're not even trying to cure them. Right? And so now Krishna tells us in the next verse what is happening. Right? Krodhat bhavati sammohaha. As soon as I get angry, I become delusional. Okay, anger is my greatest downfall. When I'm angry, I don't think straight. All of us have had this experience, right? When we're angry, we're not thinking straight. So, krodhat bhavati sammohaha. Moha mein girte hain hum log. Right? Illusion. Sammoha smriti vibhramaha. When we fall to moha, the first thing that happens is our smriti, our memory gets affected. Okay, which means we forget all the past things that we have enjoyed. Ye mujhe chahiye. We forget about, if I want to watch Sam Bahadur and then my husband says no, I will forget he's just gone with me to Tiger 3, suffered through that. Right? But I'll start yelling about tumko to mere saath kuch bhi nahi dekhna hai. Why? Smriti vibhramaha. You immediately lose memory. Right? Smriti bhramshat buddhi nasho. When you lose memory, when you forget about everything that you've just done, right? Everything that you've enjoyed, you lose your buddhi, your intelligence. You're not having intelligent conversation anymore. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. And when our buddhi, our intelligence suffers, that is a sure sign of complete fall down. Right? So, our desire gives rise to greed or anger. Correct? The Bhagavatam tells us that even if we get everything in the world, it is not possible for us to control our lusty desires. We can never be pleased. All the material wealth in the world cannot satisfy us. Okay? In today's day and age, we see this everywhere. There is so much of material advancement, so much of technological advancement. Children, we are on so many apps, so many gadgets at one point, and yet we are lonely, we are lost, we are depressed, we are anxious. At least our generation is far better than the current generation, whose friends are all just on screen. Right? So there's so much anxiety, there's so much FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. There's so much depression the minute your friend gets something and you don't have it. Such instant depression you fall into because everyone is constantly struggling to get more and more and more. And what is the problem with gussa? We started off with saying, I think about an object endlessly. I become very fond of it. I get very attached. As soon as I get attached, I want it, right? I have the desire to own it. That ownership will lead to more desires or anger. When I get angry, my brain gets all muddled, right? I can't think straight anymore. And I end up saying hurtful things, mean things, wrong things, right? So we'll just take one chota sa specific example. Okay? Let's take me. Okay, me personally, I love jewelry, right? So I see this gorgeous pair of earrings. Okay? I walked into Tanishq. I see these beautiful pair of earrings. Or you know what? I think, well, my friend got a beautiful pair of earrings as a surprise gift from her very sweet husband, right? I start thinking about it. Mera dhyan udhar jata hai. What happens? I develop a desire to own it. which means the bija, the seed for enjoyment has been sown. More dhyan I do, the more I start thinking, I want it. I reach a point where I simply must have it. So I start dropping hints to my husband. Bichara, he's a normal human being, a normal male. And so he never gets the hint. Correct? And so I try to sweetly tell him, I've seen these really, really nice pair of earrings and I really want them. Now, two things can happen, right? He's going to say yes. If he says yes, problem solved for now. If he says no, है ना? He says no, sweetheart. अभी तो हमने वो लिया था ना, अभी तो वो एक necklace लिया था, अभी तो हमने कुछ bracelet लिया था. For whatever reason, if he says no, what happens?
Suppose it will say buy afterwards. Then afterwards.
Well, afterwards also is just a little postponement, ना? पर वो किट शुरू हो जाएगा, and 2-4 दिन में that afterwards is going to lead to anger, right? And finally, your anger is going to hijack your pradnya, right? So then that is when I start throwing a tantrum. You're such a horrible person. You don't love me. You never get me anything. Correct? And that is where pranashyati.
Many times they console. कि अभी नहीं बाद में लेंगे. We'll buy afterwards.
है ना? It's so good. All that is happening is you're postponing the buy. Right? Because your dhyan will continue to be there. It's a matter of 4 days or 40 days. Right? But at the end of it, you're definitely going to say something horrible to that person. You're going to forget all the good that he has done. Right? Why? Because of a stupid pair of earrings that you did not need. Right? And if you had not paid attention to, you would have probably forgotten in 3-4 days. But for something like that, you managed to hurt somebody who's very, very dear to you. This is just a very flimsy example. You have to start thinking about everything in your life. That just because your dhyan went there, how it led to your downfall. Right? Young girls, you see a guy, nice motorcycle, talks very nicely, has all the latest gadgets. You get hooked on to him. Right? And how that leads to pranashyati. Very important for all of us having young children. Right? To kind of share this with children as to how the mind functions. Correct? So, tasya pradnya pratisthita. You have to put your pradnya connected to God. Learn to control all your desires. So, Krishna is talking about this Sthita Pradnya guy who's not like me. He understands that it all begins with the senses. Because the senses are attached to different sense objects, right? All my desires, my dhyan goes towards them. So, right in the beginning, what does he do? He behaves like a tortoise. Every time he sees कि boss मेरा ध्यान है ना इधर अटकने वाला है, he pulls his limbs, he pulls his senses into that shell, right? And so he stays calm. His mind is not ruffled. And then if he sees a Tanishq ad, no problem. He sees a Pallod ad, no problem. He sees a movie ad, no problem. And an end of reason sale, no problem. Right? Desires continue to flow from all sides, but he stays completely calm. Right? Which means no raga, no bhaya, no krodha. That is how he is able to do vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. Now understand that the search for happiness is very, very natural. Okay? It is impossible to think I will not contemplate happiness. The soul is Satchit Ananda. So the soul is constantly looking for Ananda inside or outside. Right? If we find that happiness inside, then we are Sthita Pradnya. If we are looking for it outside, then we need to start connecting everything to God. Right? Simple solution, look for happiness in the right direction. Get into divine attachment, then your mind will not get degraded. In fact, it will get purified. Right? When we attach our mind to God, we become purified. So Krishna says, give up attachment and desire. But here he is saying, give up material attachments, material desires. And instead, what you do is start properly engaging your mind and senses. Right? Because he knows that the senses need engagement. ऐसा नहीं है कि you can, go and do what Vishwamitra did. Don't go and sit in the forest trying to meditate. Engage your mind, engage your senses. But how do you need to do it? Right? So, verse number 64 again. Please remember, second chapter is Gita ka full content summarized. So, God is giving us the best advice possible in this chapter. He is repeating himself, saying the same thing in many, many different ways. Pooja, I will take your question towards the end, sweetheart. I'll finish a few verses that I really want to. Okay? Verse number 24, please. Ragadvesha vimuktestu Vishayan indriyascharan Atma vashyer vidheyatma Prasadam adigacchati. Yeah, Subbalakshmi, would you please read the translation?
But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord.
Perfect. So, Krishna understands that our mind is turbulent, right? But what do we need to do? We need to work hard and train our mind, right? Our soul, our intelligence, our mind, our senses. Everything has to be aligned in such a way that we consciously make an effort to pick higher nature. Always. It is difficult, it is not impossible. Right? We've all seen even tigers and lions can be trained and paraded around in a circus. Right? So our mind, our intelligence can be trained. How? By following Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Right? Always remember this one prayer that I think all of us know. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmanava prakriti svabhava karomi yat tat sakalam parasmay narayanayeti samarapayami. Right? I'm sure all of us have recited this prayer many, many times, especially when we do our Ganpati Aarti. Naturally, in the end, we say this. Right? Please now understand this with meaning. Kayena, with my body. Vacha, with my words. Mana, with my mind. Indriya, with my organs. Right? Buddhi, whatever I do with my buddhi also. Atma, whatever I do with my Atma, my soul. Whatever I do as per my Prakriti. And whatever I do as per my Svabhav. Look at what a profound prayer this is. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmanava prakriti svabhava. With all of this, karomi yat tat, whatever it is that I do. Right? Karomi yat tat sakalam, all of it parasmay. I want to do it without sense of ownership. And what do I want to do? Narayanayeti samarapayami. I want to offer it all to Narayan, to the beautiful lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this is what Krishna is telling us. Whatever you do with your senses, your mind, your intelligence, your normal prakriti in your varnashram, whatever activities you are doing, all that you do, it is Bhagwan ji, ye sab jo main kar rahi hu, aapko samarpit hai. I don't want to feel like I am the doer. I'm doing it as an instrument in your hands. Right? This is how you should be doing all your activities. And if you do that, so in fact, I would suggest if you know this Kayena Vacha Wala prayer, write this down next to the verse 64. Because in 65, God will tell us what happens if you do this. And in 66, He will tell us what happens if you don't do it. Okay? So 65, again beautiful, very consoling verse. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanir asyopajayate prasanna chetaso yashu buddhi paryavatishthate. Subbalakshmi, would you please read it?
For one was satisfied. It's in Krishna consciousness. The threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established.
It's such a nice verse. Prasade. What is prasad? Prabhu ke sakshat darshan. Prasada. Prabhu ke sakshat darshan. Whenever you're able to see God in something, that is prasad. Okay, we normally think only the food that we take is prasad. But every good situation that God gives us, right, is prasad. You're able to see God in it, right? So here God is telling us, prasade sarva dukkhanam hanir asyopajayate. As prasad, if you're going to offer all your activities to me, you know what I'm going to give you as prasad? I am going to destroy sarva dukkhanam, all the dukh in your life. Just see how beautiful that line is. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanir asyopajayate. All your dukkha are going to be destroyed. Right? All your material miseries will come to an end because you've offered everything to me. Every morning, take this from me after your bath. Right? Take water in your hand. Or put it as tilak on your body. I'm not even saying put tilak, chandan, vandan, kuch nahi bol rahi hu. Take water. Put it on your forehead. Kayana vacha manasendriyarva buddhyatmanava prakriti svabhava karomi yat tat sakalam parasmay narayanayati samarpayami. In the morning, with full faith, offer to God, saying, God, now that I've cleansed myself, I'm starting my day. Whatever I do today, let it be an offering to you. If you do that, God is promising you that as prasad, I will get rid of all your dukkha. And what will happen? Prasanna chetaso. Your chetana, your mind will always be prasanna, will be happy, peaceful, calm. Right? Your chetana is going to become very, very calm. Why? Because your buddhi is prayavatishthate. Your intelligence is sitting in the right place. It is now connected to God. Because your intelligence is firmly connected to God, right, and you've offered everything to God, you will be rid of all material miseries and your mind will become calm. Which means whether the situation is pleasant or unpleasant, because your chetana is very calm, you will be able to address it in a better way. Make sense? And immediately God tells us in the 26th verse, Nasti buddhir ayuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavanam na cha bhavayata shantir ashantasya kutha sukham. See how nice this is. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya. But if you decide, ki no, I don't want to connect my buddhi with God. Right? Nasti buddhir ayuktasya. You're not connecting it to the right source. Right? Your bhavana is not going to be yukta. You will never be consciously happy. You will not experience a joyful atma. And if your atma is not joyful, right, you're not going to experience shanti inside. Ashantasya kutha sukham. If you don't have shanti, where are you going to get sukh from? So a person who is nasti buddhir, who does not use his buddhi in becoming yukta with God, in getting connected with God, he will not have proper bhavana. He will not have prasanna chetasa. Right? He will not have a joyful atma. If your atma is not happy, you will not experience peace. Correct? Na cha bhavayate shantir. You will not get shanti. And if you don't experience peace, where is the question of happiness? Sukh and shanti always come together. If you're not peaceful, you cannot be joyful. Please remember, we're talking of stuff that stays long time, not instant gratification wala sukh. Something that's going to stay with us forever. That kind of sukh and shanti, they always come together. And therefore we say, no God, no peace. K-N-O-W. If you know about God, you will get peace. But no God, no peace. Right? So K-N-O-W. Know God. Get knowledge about God. Then you will most definitely get peace. But N-O. If you don't know God, then you cannot get peace. Make sense? Okay? Alright. Next verse, 67. It feels like I'm doing a lot, but I'm not, because the concept is the same. Okay? Verse number 67, please. Indriyanam hi charitam yanmano nuvidhiyate tadasya harati pradnyam vayurnavam ivambhasi.
Yeah. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence.
See how worried Krishna is. Krishna is saying, भाई मैं तुमको बोल तो रहा हूँ कि keep your mind on me. But again and again he's telling us कि our senses are very dangerous. They're like poisonous snakes. If you let them loose, they're going to create havoc. See, it's a very interesting thing that I read. If you look at the animal kingdom, okay, every animal has only one sense which is very strong. Okay, so if you look at the deer, deer gets attracted to beautiful music, to sweet sounds. So what does the hunter do? He plays beautiful music and he attracts the deer. If you look at bees love fragrance, right? So they go to a flower because of the fragrance, and they get so caught up, so captivated by that fragrance that they forget to come out. The flower closes at night and the bee dies inside. But just because of that one sense, the bee gives up its life, right? If you think of fish, they love to eat. So एक छोटा सा bait डाला, right? And the fish is unable to give that up, holds on to the bait, the fisherman pulls it out, it's dead, right? If you look at these light wale keede, so attracted to light, right? Because their eyes are very strong. They go there and they die, they get burnt in that fire, correct? So if you look at all of them, they have one sense which is strong, and that sense leads to their death. Then think of us. We have 5 solid senses. All 5 senses stronger than the other, right? So unless we are able to engage them like Maharaj Amrish did, right, we're going to be in trouble, right? Even when we are not aware, these senses, they just randomly run helter-skelter. That is why Krishna is saying they are like a boat. And a bichara boat, you're trying to get it across this material ocean. But idhar se hawa aa rahi hai, udhar se hawa aa rahi hai. And in this powerful wind, your boat is getting blown idhar udhar. Right? What do we need to do? We need to find an anchor. Right? And that anchor is God consciousness. That anchor is mantra. That anchor is Guru. Right? Who's going to tell us how we're able to get that boat across this ocean of material existence. Right? Mana trayate iti mantraha. Our mind, our indriya are going to keep running in 1,000 directions. So, please visit a temple regularly. Please chant a mantra regularly. Because then when difficulties hit us, and they will hit us, at least we'll be in a better position. We'll be able to say, मेरे पहले वाला है ना कर्म मुझे फेरना है. Right? Indriya naam hi charatam. These indriyas, they love to go. They love to be slaves to desires, but control them. Okay, that is all that Krishna is constantly repeating, and then he gives us again solution verse. Okay, 68. Whenever you're in trouble, you should read 68. It's a very good solution verse. Okay, let's do this. Tasmad yasya mahabaho nigruhitani sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya pradnya pratishthitam.
Therefore, O mighty arm, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence.
Solution verse. Whenever you want sukh and shanti, please read this verse. Okay? This verse is telling us ki Mahabaho, oh very, long-armed, very strong-armed Arjun, I'm telling you, always keep control of your senses. Restrain your senses from sense objects. Curb your senses. Okay? But Remember, only curbing your senses is like cooking under pressure cooker. वो कभी ना कभी फटने वाला है. Right? I cannot be like Vishwamitra with 1,000 distractions around me. He only had one Menaka, one Rambha. Right? I have several Menakas, several Rambhas in my life. So for me, shutting off my eyes is not the solution. Because at some point or the other, I have to open my eyes, no? And the minute I do, then it all gets very ugly. So I'm like cooking under pressure cooker. So instead, go see the beautiful deities of the Lord. Param drishtva nivartate. Channelize your senses in superior engagement. Right? Senses are constantly running after sense objects. They're like wild horses. But if you are an expert charioteer, you know how to control those horses. You don't want to stop those horses from running. You want them to run, but you want them to run in the right direction in the best possible manner. Right? You can't stop them because they have potential. Why are you curbing them? So it is always about redirecting, giving them superior engagement. Param drishtva nivartate. Don't ever forget that. Artificially restraining is never going to work in our life. है ना? That is why you'll see they don't tell you, आज है ना ये छोड़ दो, आज वो छोड़ दो, नहीं. They don't tell you to give up a lot. They tell you what is the good to hold on to. Modern philosophy says YOLO. You only live once. है ना? So do whatever you want to do. Be pleasure seeking. Right? It says, arey, there's no, life after death. There's no karma. There's no moksha. All these scriptures are, man ghadat baatein. They don't believe in Atma being immortal. Right? So they say pleasure seeking. Let's go and fulfill all our desires today. Let's be self-indulgent today. Bhagavad Gita says no. Krishna says you need a spiritual culture. Because by constantly trying to fulfill your desires, you're only going to go to Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat, buddhi nasho, buddhi nashat pranashyati. The end result of trying to fulfill your desires is pranashyati, is downfall. Only thing you can do is redirect your senses. Experience real satisfaction, and that can be done when you're connected to Guru, Sadhu, Shastra through spiritual connection. Okay? Granthra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Thank you all for joining.